know how nice it is to say we are joined by the Hall of Famer, Ken Hawk Harrelson. Hi, Hawk. How you doing?
All right, Jason, and I got to tell you one thing right now, buddy. You just keep going, and you're going to be up on that stage one day too.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I wish we could have you on the stage this year. I feel bad that the ceremony had to be postponed. How you doing with that?
Well, I'm fine with it. They called me and asked me, and I told them, I said, I'm not going to bring my family up because, Derek's going in, and they're going to have 100,000 people there. Yankee fans from all over the world are going to be flying in for Jeter, and justifiably so. He's certainly one of baseball's true icons. And I didn't want them exposed to all those people sitting, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. And then Tim Meade, who was president of Cooperstown, asked me what I thought. And I said, Timmy, I'm not going to bring. He said, would you feel uncomfortable by doing this? I said, if it was just me, no, I wouldn't. But it's not just me. It's my family. And he said, well, we're going to make a decision in a few days. A few days later, he called me back, and he said, we're going to postpone it. And I said, Timmy, you made the right decision. Under the circumstances, it'd be crazy because of all the people that are going to be there.
Yeah. How are you doing right now? You and your family, what are you up to?
Well, I've been sitting on the behind watching a lot of Ty Walker, Texas Ranger, and watching a lot of Netflix and drinking a lot of Smirnoff.
I love you.
So, I've been trying, what it is boils down to, Jason, as you all know, because you got plenty of it. It boils down to common sense. That's what it boils down to. You try to abide by the lines. I got a haircut today, and my barber, I went in and I had to have a mask on, and he's got his mask on, and he sanitizes everything. We sanitize my hands and the whole bit. So it's just abiding by what they think, people who know more about it than you and I, what they think is right. And if we can do that, and then I had to go to the market today briefly, and I had my mask on. And a lot of people didn't have it on. And it's crazy because of the fact it's just common sense. If you have some kind of a protection, use it, because I'll tell you, this thing has changed our society. There's no question about that. Our society has changed forever. And when you get to a point like we are right now, there's no more handshaking going to be going on. These masks are not going anywhere. They're going to be around for a long time. And it's okay with me if that's what they think, because I want to protect my loved ones. And if I get it, they're going to get it. So I've got to protect myself as well. You got to protect yourself as well because of your loved ones. And that's what it boils down to. But I'm just, as I said, I was just sitting here watching that game with El Presidente, and I miss baseball. I can tell you that right now. You do too. We all do. We all miss baseball. And I hope that they can come to some sort of a common sense decision to start it back. If they can't, then that's okay too.
I want to ask you, you mentioned Walker, Texas Ranger, and I know you've watched all of that. What is you mentioned a lot. What's your second favorite TV show?
America's Got Talent.
Nice.
I tell you what, I get pissed off. I get so pissed off at the judges sometimes, but I'll tell you, I used to really dislike Simon. Now I love him. He's great, and some of the talents they put up there, are just phenomenal. And I could sit there. I've been using my iPad probably anywhere from 4 to 5 to 6 hours a day, and that's what I watch. If Walker Texas Ranger's not on, then I've got there's so much good on TV right now that's occupying a lot of my time. I just got finished watching an episode of Grant today, which I just love. Boy, that was I taped that one. I didn't tape the other two, so I've got to find those and bring them back up, because I didn't realize that. I knew he was good, but I didn't realize he was that good.
Yeah. It sounds like your relationship with Simon is like your relationship with Joe West.
That's a good analogy, Jason. I'll tell you. I talked with Joe the other day, and they only live about 25 miles from here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and Joe's going to break the all-time record this year, you know, for games calls. And I'm going to try to be there. I don't know where it's going to be yet, and he doesn't either because they don't have a schedule. But he's going to let me know the schedule, and if this is all possible, then I'm going to go and be there when he breaks that record, because Joe and I have become really, really good friends. And, you know, even when we were fighting each other for over 30 years, the funny thing about it is that the day we really broke the ice was in Texas, and Stone says, this is going to be Joe's first game back. And I said, well, where the hell's he been? He said he had throat cancer. And I said, what? So as soon as the game was over, I ran down to the umpire's room, knocked on the door, and this umpire, I don't know who it was, came to the door. And he looked at me funny because he was shocked to see me there, you know. And I said, where's Joe? He said, he's in the shower. So I walked right by him and went back to the shower, and Joe's showering up. He's got soap all on his face and everything. And I said, Joe, let me tell you something, buddy. I said, I don't mind arguing with you. I don't mind fighting you. But the one thing I cannot have you do is getting sick on me. And he started laughing. And, you know, his voice was still not all the way back yet. And since that time, we have really become close. And then he went over to my friend Dewey Tomko's restaurant here. And Dewey called me and said, Joe was over there. So I said, come on, honey, we're going to go over there. I want you to meet Joe West. We went over there, and I said, Joe, I want you to meet my beautiful wife, Eris. He looks at her and he goes, Eris, you got my condolences. So then his wife, he got married not too long ago, and I met her in the parking lot there at the ballpark, and I went over to her. I said, Tina, you got my condolences. So we got even on that. But he's been a great umpire. He and Nestor Shylock, my all-time favorite umpires.
Yeah, yeah. What do you miss most about baseball, Hawk?
The game. I mean, you know, that's the thing. That's the beauty of the game. You know, people say, Hawk, you've been in the game all the parts of 8 decades and, you know, 60 years and all that stuff, and you're an expert. I said, I'm not an expert in baseball. I said, there are no experts in baseball. Nobody. That's the beauty of the game. There's nobody who knows the game of baseball in and out. There are some people who've been around a lot of times, a longer time, and have seen more things happen, so to speak, like a Joe West, like a Hawk Harrelson, like a, you know, whoever. But you know as much about the game as I do, and you're relatively new into the game. There are no experts in this game. There's just, I love that. It's the beauty of it. We see things every week, every 2 weeks that we've never seen before. And I've seen thousands and thousands of games, broadcast thousands and thousands of games, played thousands of games. And I just miss it. I miss the smell of the baseball itself, the leather. I miss the sound of somebody following back in the cage, and you can smell the burnt wood on the bat. All these little, you know, things that come into play that unfortunately a lot of the fans don't have the opportunity to enjoy like you and I do. And that's the beauty of it. And that was why it was such fun broadcasting, because I've been blessed in my career to be with some great announcers. You know, my first one was, in Boston. And since then I've had, you know, announcer after announcer after announcer all these years. And I've enjoyed working with each and every one of them. Of course, the guy who was one of my favorites is Wimpy, you know, Tom Paciorek. And you grew up with us. I
did.
Yeah, my first one was Dick Stockton in Boston. I learned a lot because he was a rookie that year in '75, and I was a rookie. And I'll never forget the first game. First game we did, we had done a couple of practice games, but the first game we did was against Montreal. So Tim Foley was the shortstop of the Expos.
Yeah.
So about the fourth inning or third inning, Foley comes to the plate for the second time. He said, Hawk, tell us a little bit about Tim Foley. I said, well, he's a feisty guy out there. I said, he got big balls, you know. And of course, man, we walk out, and Stockton looked at me like, you know.
You're going to get me fired. This is my first game.
Yeah. I said, Harris was waiting for me after the game was over. And I walked down and I said, okay, honey, let's go pack. She said, why? I told her what I'd said. And she said, no, you didn't. I said, yes, I did. So now I get back to the motel room there in Winter Haven, Florida. And there was my phone ringing. And it was the station calling. And general manager. And I said, well, am I fired? He said, fired? He said, you lit up. He said, you lit up the switchboard like we've never had it lit up before. And he said, 95% of it was positive.
Wow.
So that was my first game. And I thought I was going to get fired.
What I love about baseball is that you can mention a name and it triggers something else in somebody else's mind. Tim Foley, when I was in AAA in Syracuse, Tim Foley was the manager. Right. So I got to know Tim very well. And you're right. He is feisty to the maximum. He's crazy.
He is. He's partly crazy. He's like Brzezinski. You know, he's partly crazy. But I love guys like Rex Hudler, who, oh, yeah. But I love those guys because those were the kind of guys. I played with some great guys. I played with that team that went on to Oakland and won 5 consecutive divisional titles and played 3 consecutive world championships. I was at Kansas City in '67, and that's when Finley and I got into an argument, and he let me go. I went to Boston, and they went out to Oakland. And you get guys like that, and I'll tell you what, it was just fantastic to play with players that I played with and against. And, the game is better today only because of this, Jason. Our superstars would have been superstars today. The Mantles, the Mays, the Musials, the K-Lines, and all these guys, they would have been superstars 100 years from now. But the average guy, I was just a little better than the average major league player. And what happens is the little better average than major league player today was so much better than I was. It's not even funny. There were very few Latins in the game, and I'm very partial. I'm very partial to African Americans and Latins because I know what they had to go through. I was there at the time. They couldn't stay at the same hotels we stayed at. They couldn't get off the bus when we were making a bus trip, and we had to pair up, and I'd go to whoever and I'd say, okay, what do you want? Hamburger or cheeseburger, and fries. And they said, yeah. We had to go in and get it and bring it back out on a bus tour. And I went through all that, so I know what they went through. But the Latin players the influx of the Latin players has just changed the culture of this game completely. Most of the time, Latin players, when I came into the big leagues, were small. The Louis Aparicios, and the guys, now these guys are 6'5" and 6'6", as strong. And I tell you, I'm just sad that we're not going to be able to see our guys play this year because we have a chance with the talent that Kenny and Rick have assembled to be a monster.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a monster, not just a good ball club. And I said at Sox Fest not past year because I missed it, but year last, I think it's got a chance to be the greatest decade in Chicago baseball in history. Yeah. Because the Cubs, and I'm glad to see Joe Madden gone because I think he's one of the best in the game. I know, there's a couple of more wins we'll have, but I know the new guy's going to be good. But I asked AJ about him, and David, he said he loves him. He just loves the guy. So it's going to be a fun time watching us kick their butts this decade.
I can't wait. Hey, what do you say we get to some questions from Sox season ticket holders?
Sure.
All right. This first one is from Eric Perez in Chicago. He asks, Hawk, what excites you most about getting into the Hall of Fame?
My grandkids.
Yeah.
My family, my grandkids. I'm blessed. I've been blessed all my life. I really don't deserve the life that I've had because of the fact my beautiful wife, Eris, and our beautiful children, Krista and Casey, and our beautiful grandchildren, Nico, Alexander, and Hank. In fact, Hank's here with us today, but I'm so happy for them because, it means a lot to me, certainly. But there are so many other guys out there that could be on this. Everybody on that list, you guys like Tom Hamilton. I love listening. I think Tom's one of the most exciting announcers in sports today. And then you got Mike Shannon, 48 years with the Cardinals, and Joe up there in Boston. All these guys, every one of them belong in there. As I said, believe it or not, and I'm just telling you the truth, Jason. You just stay where you're at, because one of these days you're going to be up there.
Well, thank you. And I would say this: when you say you don't deserve what you have, I would dispute that, and I think Sox fans would too, because you brought us all so much joy and so many laughs and so much fun and so much baseball knowledge, and you're a good-hearted person to boot, a really great-hearted person. So I would say you do deserve everything you get.
Well, you know, the thing about it is that broadcasting baseball, that's one reason that I think that your future is so bright, is because of the fact, and you and Steve do a great job, because broadcasting a 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 ball game with two good pitchers out there, anybody can do that. Because the game, if you got a producer, especially like, you know, I had most of my career in Jim Angio, and then I've been lucky, because those guys in the truck, they're the real heroes of a broadcast. You know that, the cameraman, the director, the producer, and everybody else. But the secret to broadcasting and having longevity in the thing is how you handle 11-1 game, a 13-2 game, especially when it's in the third or fourth inning, you know, and it's a blowout. How you handle that game, and that's one reason that Wimpy was, and DJ, Darren Jackson, you know, I love the guy like a son. And Darren handled it well. Wimpy handled those go. I just asked Wimpy a couple of questions to get him started, and I just back out and let him go. You know,
ask him to do John Wayne, and you got 4 innings.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly right. That's a good analogy. I've been lucky. I was with good ball clubs. You know, the best team that I was with was 05 White Sox. You know, I played on the 67 World Series Red Sox team, the Impossible Dream. And that was a big thrill. And playing an all-star game was a big thrill. But my biggest thrill was, I want to tell you what, was that 05 White Sox team. That was my biggest thrill in the game. And when, you know, they went 99 games, they won 99 games that year. They went 11-1 in the playoffs. And I'll tell you what, they couldn't have done it without Ozzie. Ozzie was absolutely fantastic. And that's why, you know, as I mentioned, and we have the perfect guy now with our White Sox, Rick Renteria, to be handling that situation because of the influx of the Latin players. You know, most of these guys come in and don't really speak a lot of good English. And Rick is right there for them, and he knows the game, and I am just so pleased with what he's doing. And we got one of the great pitching coaches in the history of the game, Don Cooper. So it's going to be interesting to see. And they tell me that some of the players we got, which I have not seen, just on tape, you know.
Right.
But they tell me that some of the players we got, I've talked with some scouts, and they said, Hawk, and before Eloy came up, I talked with 2 or 3 scouts that I have a lot of confidence in. And they said, he might be the best talent in baseball today.
Wow.
And now we got another one coming in to go to center field.
Yeah, Luis Robert.
And I talked with Richard Dotson about him. And he said, Hawk, he said, you remember Eddie Feiner and the King, you know, in his court, where they had, Eddie was a pitcher, they had a catcher, and they had a center fielder. He said, well, Luis Robert is like that center fielder. He said, you don't need a left fielder and right fielder with him out there. Just put him out there. He'll cover the whole outfield for you. So I'm anxious to see it, you know, and the biggest thing I feel bad about right now is for the fans, because the fans, and especially with this pandemic that's been going on, the fans need something positive to grab a hold of and not live in, I'm not saying fear, but of dread, so to speak, of the fact of what's happening in our society. But I'll tell you one thing right now, once it starts up, I think you'll see a positive change in the attitude.
I agree with you. I agree completely.